two girls with the same name transfer to the same school. One of them is a K-pop trainee, about to debut as an idol, so everyone is excited to see her. The other girl, however, has nothing special. At her previous school, no one even noticed her. On top of that, Min-jae suffers from social anxiety and cannot make friends. But as she is about to transfer again, she does not want to keep living like this. She decides to take off her glasses. During the summer break, Min-jae learns how to put on makeup and communicate with others. She wants to become a new person in a new environment. Soon, her first day at the new school arrives. When Min-jae sees her classmates talking and laughing, she feels scared. She still cannot bring herself to make friends. She fears being isolated or rejected like before, so she sets a goal for herself. Then Min-jae enters the classroom. The teacher asks her to introduce herself. All eyes turn to her. Faced with this, her mind goes blank. She had practiced introducing herself countless times, but now she cannot say anything. In the end, she can only manage to say, "Hello everyone, my name is Min-jae." Min-jae expected her classmates to ignore her like before, but she was surprised when they applauded her. Their reaction gives her more confidence. After class, she wants to make friends and fit in, but with her shy personality and soft voice, it is hard to get anyone's attention. Min-jae fails again and slumps back to her seat. During the break, she still sits alone. She wonders if transferring schools was even worth it. Feeling sad, Min-jae walks outside. She accidentally bumps into a classmate. She intends to apologize, but the other student gives her some snacks. This reminds Min-jae of the days before she transferred. At that moment, Min-jae offers some snacks to the other girls, but they refuse her and take snacks from another girl instead. Remembering this, Min-jae quickly accepts the snack the classmate gave her. Then she returns to her seat alone. This is the first time she feels the joy of being appreciated by others. Just then, the class beauty approaches and introduces herself. She even compliments Min-jae on her looks. Hearing this, Min-jae reflects and remembers the communication skills she learned. Over the summer, she politely compliments the class beauty and the other girls in return, which makes them very pleased. In this way, Min-jae successfully joins the class beauty's group. The beauty then introduces her to the other students. When Min-jae sees the handsome boys in front of her, her insecurities resurface. She truly cannot bring herself to say hello. Ji-hoon notices her awkwardness and decides to walk ahead. Unexpectedly, as he steps onto the stairs, his shirt gets caught on Min-jae's arm. Ji-hoon cannot react in time and falls backward. Luckily, Min-jae quickly reaches out and catches him. The atmosphere freezes instantly. Everyone stares in shock. Ji-hoon fixes his tie and turns around, intending to tease her. But when he sees Min-jae's pitiful expression, he can't help but soften. Ji-hoon regains his cold demeanor and walks away. Min-jae thinks the matter is over, but no one expects that in music class, they are assigned seats together. To break the awkwardness, Min-jae tries to find a topic to talk about, but when she turns her head, she sees Ji-hoon applying lip balm. The sight makes her heart race. She calms herself and wants to start a conversation again, but Ji-hoon puts on his headphones. Min-jae gives up trying to talk, and the two return to their awkward state. Min-jae doesn't realize that Ji-hoon has been watching her small actions all along. He put on his headphones earlier to hide his own nervousness. After class, the homeroom teacher checks in with Min-jae and asks if she feels comfortable on her first day at the new school. Min-jae answers honestly, saying that her classmates have been very kind to her. Hearing this, the teacher nods in admiration and says, "As expected from a top student and former idol, you've already blended in so quickly." Even jokes that when she becomes more famous, she shouldn't forget about him. Min-jae doesn't understand what the teacher means at first, but when she sees two admission forms on the computer, she's shocked to realize that the teacher has mistaken her for the famous student. Another new student with the same name has also transferred to this school. That's why the class beauty approached her on the first day, and why the class president showed her so much attention. The realization makes her uneasy. Thinking about it, fear starts to creep in. She's afraid her classmates will think she intentionally hid the truth, and even more afraid of being isolated again, just like before. The unexpected situation leaves Min-jae at a loss for what to do. Just then, the class president walks in. He pretends to check on her, but in truth, he's probing. It turns out he has long suspected Min-jae's true identity, and seeing her shocked, anxious expression now only confirms his guess. Min-jae admits she isn't the famous student. However, the class president says he'll keep her secret. Min-jae returns to class, feeling uneasy. Since her classmates don't know the truth, they continue treating her warmly. This makes her give up on confessing. The attention she receives begins to change her. Once a person has tasted sweetness, how can they easily go back to bitterness? In the end, Min-jae chooses to keep lying to maintain the illusion. That night, Min-jae goes up to the bridge, hating her own greed. She doesn't know what to do once the real transfer student arrives. At that moment, she even wishes she could disappear, so she wouldn't have to face anyone at school. Ji-hoon happens to pass by and sees her standing there. Noticing a warning sign nearby, his mind fills with worry. Afraid she might do something reckless, he quietly follows her until she enters a convenience store. She seems to be buying something unclear, so Ji-hoon rushes in to stop her. The two end up sitting awkwardly by the roadside. When Min-jae asks what's going on, Ji-hoon, embarrassed, can't admit that he was afraid she might try to harm herself. Instead, he lies and says he also likes that kind of candy. Min-jae is surprised to learn that he likes strawberry candy too. As soon as Min-jae finishes speaking, Ji-hoon widens his eyes in surprise. He quickly applies lip balm again to hide his embarrassment. At that moment, Min-jae suddenly asks if he has ever wished he could disappear. Ji-hoon is known as a popular guy, admired by everyone, so it seems impossible for him to share the same worries as her. But to her surprise, Ji-hoon pauses for a moment and then gives an unexpected answer. He admits that he has felt the same way. The next day, the real idol finally joins the class. She dresses simply, not wanting to draw attention. All she wants is a quiet school life until graduation. However, she doesn't expect that another girl in the class shares the same name. Watching her laugh and talk with others, idol Min-jae suddenly remembers her old self. Idol Min-jae feels a little disappointed, but she quickly adjusts her thoughts. She realizes that friendship and popularity don't really matter. Everyone can sense that the two girls named Min-jae are completely different. When others make comments about her, idol Min-jae doesn't care. She knows they're just pretending, and she understands herself better than anyone else, so she simply ignores them. However, Min-jae begins to feel uneasy. She can't understand why the other girl shows up looking like that, or why she wears makeup. After all, she's the one who is always ignored. Later, when Min-jae makes sure the restroom is empty, she asks the idol why she's dressed that way, saying it's not her true self. The idol coldly replies that they should just pretend not to know each other. Min-jae agrees. After that, the idol Min-jae leaves first. Haejin sees the two girls coming out of the restroom with strange expressions. He realizes they have switched identities and secretly gives Min-jae the other girl's address. He even helps cover up her lie. However, Min-jae doesn't have the courage to meet the real one, so Haejin mocks her to provoke a reaction. On the surface, he seems kind and gentle, but deep down, he's not as innocent as he looks. As soon as Min-jae steps out of the room, she runs into Ji-hoon, a classmate who started probing about whether the two of them had any kind of relationship recently. But before getting an answer, the teacher catches him and makes him clean the restroom as punishment. Min-jae apologizes, but Ji-hoon doesn't respond. However, when Ji-hoon sees that she's too shy to ask for an exam paper, he quietly hands her his own and pretends to fall asleep. Later, Min-jae wants to talk to the girl who shares her name, but unexpectedly, the idol pulls her into the classroom. The idol Min-jae asks what she really wants. Finally, Min-jae decides to tell the truth. She realizes that everyone already knows about their switched identities. The idol then asks whether she plans to reveal the truth or keep hiding it. Min-jae feels guilty because the reason she changed herself was simply to make friends. She admits she pretended to be the idol because she wanted to be liked, but if she tells the truth now, she'll be isolated again. Min-jae doesn't want to be hated or ignored anymore, so she blocks the idol's way and pleads with her to switch identities. Since they share the same name, people had mistaken her for the idol in the first place. This is the first time someone has ever approached Min-jae, so she doesn't want idol Min-jae to expose her identity. She also knows that idol Min-jae dresses casually on purpose, hoping no one will recognize her. Meanwhile, the real Min-jae, who feels insecure, wants to be noticed. Their needs perfectly complement each other. During the days when Min-jae lived under the idol's identity, she was truly happy. She begged desperately for the situation to continue, but after being rejected, she realized her lie was about to be exposed. Haejin deliberately mentioned Min-jae's name, and as expected, Ji-hoon looked up in surprise. Haejin went on to ask if Ji-hoon had feelings for Min-jae. Ji-hoon suddenly recalled the hug on the first day of school, while Min-jae was still struggling inside, unsure whether to confess the truth. Just then, Ji-hwan sent her a message, inviting her to sing karaoke after school, something Min-jae had always dreamed of. Haejun told Ji-hoon that Min-jae would be coming to the KTV, knowing for sure that he would show up because of her. On the outside, Ji-hoon acted indifferent, but after school, he still went there. When Min-jae watched her classmates dancing, she couldn't help but admire them. As soon as Ji-hwan sat down, Ji-hoon quietly moved away and encouraged Min-jae to sing. It was Min-jae's first time at a KTV, so she didn't know what to sing. While she was hesitating, hesitating, Haejun turned to Jihoon and asked, "Don't you usually not sing either?" Everyone started cheering and asking Jihoon to sing, but he coldly refused. Minjae thought she was off the hook, but unexpectedly, the others pushed her to perform instead. Reluctantly, she chose a song she often listened to. Surrounded by her cheering classmates, Minjae couldn't bring herself to sing confidently. When the melody started, the room fell silent. Everyone was stunned, and it took a moment before they snapped out of it and burst into applause. They all praised Minjae for her beautiful singing. After finishing the song, Minjae stepped out to use the restroom, and Jihoon followed her. Although she planned to ignore him, he handed her a can of soda and complimented her performance. The two shyly searched for topics to talk about. Remembering Minjae's adorable expression earlier, Jihoon couldn't help but praise her again. Minjae honestly shared that she had spent a long time thinking about what song to sing since she wasn't familiar with the popular hits these days. It was also her first time going to KTV with friends, but right after saying that, she regretted it because she was pretending to be a K-pop trainee, someone who was supposed to know everything about music. When Minjae returned to the room, she asked Jihoon what song he would sing if he had to. Jihoon leaned in and whispered the song's title in her ear. In that moment, Minjae wished time could stop because once she revealed the truth, everyone would stop seeing her as a friend. But right after that, idol Minjae's account suddenly followed her classmates back, which made the insecure Minjae panic. There were photos of idol Minjae on that account, and she couldn't understand what the idol was trying to do. The next day, idol Minjae showed up at school with light makeup. When she overheard Jiwon speaking badly about someone, she couldn't hold it in any longer. She walked over and stepped on Jiwon's foot, then quickly pretended to be scared and apologized. As she turned around, idol Minjae smiled in satisfaction. She went up to the rooftop, let her hair down, and took off her glasses. Instantly, idol Minjae's hidden beauty was revealed. The insecure Minjae stood there, quietly admiring her. Even though she had prepared herself mentally, she didn't expect idol Minjae to have such an extraordinary presence. The insecure Minjae thanked her for helping out the day before. Idol Minjae replied that she didn't need friends or attention, while the insecure Minjae did. That's why idol Minjae agreed to switch identities with her. Still, she warned her not to act too naive. It wouldn't suit an idol's image. The insecure Minjae felt slightly embarrassed by the comment. Idol Minjae then added that instead of searching online for how she dressed or talked, the other Minjae should just ask her directly. Watching her counterpart lost in happiness, idol Minjae reminded her that this was actually the most dangerous time because losing those friendships could happen in an instant. Idol Minjae also reminded her that the insecure Minjae was never truly invisible. Even when she sat quietly, she still drew people's attention. Even with glasses on, she was still beautiful. The insecure Minjae picked up her phone and deleted the posts on her account. From that moment, the two officially switched identities, but neither of them knew there was someone else on the rooftop. When idol Minjae read the other girl's messages, she thought to herself that this girl really talked a lot, and she couldn't understand why she had agreed to the identity swap in the first place. Still, the insecure Minjae's cute tone made her smile. Later, Jihoon posted group photos with friends but only uploaded pictures where she looked good. Idol Minjae immediately understood her intention. She realized Jihoon's friendship was nothing but fake. Feeling sympathy for the girl who shared her name, idol Minjae smiled as she read her message of thanks. Meanwhile, the insecure Minjae was feeling uneasy, thinking she might have said something wrong. Jiwon kept taking selfies, but when she noticed idol Minjae accidentally appearing in the background, she complained that her perfect shots were ruined and told idol Minjae to move her desk. Jiwon even gave her a nickname, calling her pale and cute. Idol Minjae, however, felt nothing but disdain. She had overheard Jiwon badmouthing her before. When Jiwon tried to move the desk, she didn't even notice another girl nearby who was painting, ruining her artwork without offering an apology. Idol Minjae watched her, suppressing her anger and trying to remain invisible. Their friends complimented Jiwon for being pretty, and although Jiwon smiled and said that Minjae was also pretty, idol Minjae knew she didn't mean it. It was obvious from her tone. Haejun praised Minjae for her cute singing voice, while Jihoon looked wary and asked why Haejun mentioned her. But when Haejun turned the question back on him, Jihoon pretended not to care. The next day in class, Jihoon was startled when Minjae suddenly appeared behind him. Hearing him speak out loud, for once Minjae was equally surprised. The two shyly avoided conversation, yet both felt a quiet flutter inside. Minjae asked if Jihoon wasn't sleepy today, and he replied that he had never actually fallen asleep. He was never really asleep to begin with. Minjae even thought he was lying. Jihoon took off the left earphone and hesitated for a long moment before placing it on the phone and handing it to her. She picked up the phone and put it to her ear. In that instant, the two of them were quietly sharing a moment that belonged belonged only to them. Meanwhile, another girl who had just confessed to Ji-hoon and been rejected, angrily threw her phone, accidentally hitting the two, eavesdropping on them. Min-jae picked up the phone, unsure of what to do. Idol Min-jae quickly pushed her outside. Min-jae and Ji-hoon stared at each other for a long moment. She explained that she had just arrived, so she hadn't seen anything. Ji-hoon glanced at the phone in Min-jae's hand and then said only one sentence. The next morning, Min-jae happily danced along the street, only to accidentally run into Ji-hoon. She hurriedly looked for a place to hide, but unexpectedly, Ji-hoon ran away too. Both of them were trying to avoid each other, each waiting for the other to go first, yet they ended up running into each other after half a day. Min-jae felt a little disappointed. Suddenly, Ji-hoon ran up to her and asked if she had spread the news from last night. Min-jae quickly denied it. A moment later, she peeked at him and asked if he had heard what she said. It turned out that Ji-hoon could hear her even with his earphones on. This meant that on the first day of school, he had deliberately ignored her. Ji-hoon explained that he simply didn't know how to respond, so he ignored her words. He also thought she wasn't very friendly, which was why he didn't talk to her. By coincidence, Min-jae felt the same way. From their very first meeting, both had assumed the other was cold. Min-jae asked why Ji-hoon hadn't sung at the KTV, and he explained that he simply wasn't good at singing. Their personalities were quite similar, and gradually, they grew closer. During gym class, some classmates laughed at Min-jae for wearing fake shoes, though she didn't even know the brand. Confused and unsure what to say, she was surprised when Ji-hoon appeared and said that they were wearing the same shoes. Hae-jun teased them, saying they were matching, which made Min-jae feel embarrassed. Later, when Ji-hoon got home, he saw an interesting video that he really wanted to share with Min-jae, but he hesitated. In the end, he decided to flip a coin. If it landed on heads, he would share it with her. When Ji-hoon first saw tails on the coin, he persuaded himself to try again, but it landed on tails once more. He kept flipping until it finally landed on heads, and only then did he send a message to Min-jae. What Ji-hoon didn't know was that the two girls had already swapped identities. When idol Min-jae received his message, she was stunned. Ji-won, noticing that Ji-hoon normally acted cold but had actively tagged Min-jae, felt furious. She immediately came up with a plan. Soon after, someone posted online claiming that Min-jae didn't seem like an idol and was even wearing fake shoes. The post sparked a lot of discussion. The insecure Min-jae apologized to idol Min-jae, feeling guilty that the fake shoes had affected her reputation. She felt she hadn't tried hard enough and wasn't the kind of person who received much attention. But idol Min-jae didn't blame her counterpart. She even encouraged the insecure Min-jae and showed her a few shoe brands. As the two were looking at the phone, they heard someone approaching. The insecure Min-jae hurriedly hid, while idol Min-jae stood up straight. She pretended to leave timidly, but was stopped by Hae-jun, who had apparently already known about the girl's secret. He showed them a post from an anonymous source. Only then did the two Min-jaes realize that their identities were under suspicion. Perhaps it was because the insecure Min-jae didn't carry herself like an idol that someone had noticed, so idol Min-jae decided to start a training session to help the insecure Min-jae become more like a famous idol. She took her namesake to try on lipstick and then went shopping for all kinds of trendy clothes. When idol Min-jae picked out a shirt, the insecure Min-jae was shocked by its price. She couldn't understand why such an old-fashioned design could be so expensive. Moreover, she had worn a similar style before and been laughed at by classmates, who often teased her for dressing strangely, like a cartoon character. Idol Min-jae explained that this style had recently become very popular. Seeing that the insecure Min-jae was still hesitant, she immediately said she would wear the same outfit with her. The two then went to a cafe, where Min-jae kept taking photos with her phone, but none of them turned out well. Idol Min-jae, feeling frustrated, rearranged everything and took the photos again. After watching the finished image, Min-jae's eyes lit up with admiration. She shyly admitted that it was her first time visiting a cafe because she'd never had any friends to go with before. The idol Min-jae was touched by her words and immediately picked up her phone to take a photo of her. The shy Min-jae felt a bit embarrassed and wanted to take a photo of the idol in return, but the idol quickly waved her hand, remembering the other girl's poor photography skills. When idol Min-jae saw the shy Min-jae chatting happily with Ji-hwan, she couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. Later that day, the two Min-jaes chatted cheerfully on the phone after getting home. When Ji-hoon noticed that Min-jae had changed her profile picture, he wanted to message her. But just then, Hae-jun appeared, so Ji-hoon quickly hid his phone and pretended to stretch. Hae-jun teased him, asking if he was texting a girl, and he even guessed that Ji-hoon was talking to Min-jae. Ji-hoon became flustered right away. Meanwhile, Hae-jun saw that the two Min-jaes had added him to their group chat, but he had no intention of telling Ji-hoon that the two girls had actually swapped identities identities. The next day, Min-jae saw Ji-won talking and laughing naturally with some boys. Min-jae admired Ji-won because she could chat so easily with male students. Ji-won then acted a little proud and said that Hae-jun and Ji-hoon are very similar. In fact, they are both gentle, though everyone thinks they are cold because no one gets to interact with them much. But Ji-won is different. She asked Min-jae if she had a close male friend. Min-jae blushed and looked down. Since she didn't even have a best friend, Ji-hoon, being scolded by the teacher, happened to see Min-jae. Just as she was about to leave, he ran after her. Ji-hoon explained that he was being criticized because he wasn't dressed properly. Min-jae teased him in response. Gradually, the two shy students grew closer. When their classmates saw the intimate gestures between them, they immediately assumed the two were in love. The next morning, Ji-hoon followed Min-jae's advice and wore his school uniform properly. At that moment, Min-jae turned and was surprised to see him. Did he really listen to what she said? The more she looked at Ji-hoon, the more handsome he seemed. Curiously, she asked why he had come to find her. He used the excuse of borrowing a book, but in reality, he just wanted Min-jae to know that he had obediently followed her advice. This was the first time Ji-hoon had acted on his own like this. The two of them looked at each other, feeling a little shy. Ji-hoon handed Min-jae a music CD, but before she could react, he ran off. A little later, Min-jae returned to her seat, still unable to hide her joy. It was then that she noticed a note Ji-hoon had left. He had been sending her messages repeatedly, and she had to go online to figure out what they meant. Min-jae worried she might misunderstand Ji-hoon's intentions. The next morning, Min-jae handed Ji-hoon a movie ticket as a way of returning a favor. Ji-hoon asked if she only had one ticket. Min-jae didn't understand his meaning, so he took the initiative to invite her to watch the movie together. As soon as he spoke, his ears turned red. Ji-hoon criticized Min-jae's outfit, saying it looked too childish. Min-jae remembered that she hadn't liked the outfit much herself when she chose it. Unexpectedly, a classmate stepped forward and admired her outfit, making Ji-hoon realize how unfashionable he looked. Hae-jun also came over to compliment Min-jae's clothes. Hearing this, others joined in, while Ji-hoon felt embarrassed. Idol Min-jae smiled quietly. It turned out that last night, Idol Min-jae had gone to see Hae-jun and asked him to remember all of Min-jae's clothing styles so he could speak up for her when needed. Because currently, Idol Min-jae's words weren't taken seriously and she could only rely on someone else. Hae-jun curiously asked why Idol Min-jae would go to such lengths to help someone with the same name. Remembering the time spent beside her, Idol Min-jae didn't know how to explain, and so the two of them quietly protected the insecure Min-jae. Hae-jun and Idol Min-jae exchanged glances, proudly thinking they had completed their mission perfectly. Idol Min-jae looked at Ji-hoon, knowing she felt very jealous. During PE class, Min-jae was invited by a classmate to join a team, while Ji-hoon suddenly realized he felt out of place. A classmate carelessly tossed a ball, hitting Idol Min-jae on the head. She clutched her head in pain, ready to scold them, but didn't want to draw attention, so she held back and said she was fine. Insecure, Min-jae felt a bit sorry for her, but worried that Idol Min-jae might get angry, so she stayed silent and just watched. Later, Ji-hoon invited Min-jae to go for a walk, but unexpectedly, she found out that Min-jae and Ji-hoon were going to watch a movie together. Ji-hoon immediately started acting mischievously. First, she said that she and Ji-hoon often went to the movies too. Then she tried to find out if Min-jae liked him and if the two of them often went out together. Min-jae shook her head, denying. In the evening, Min-jae sent many messages to Idol Min-jae, asking what she should wear the next day. She noticed that Idol Min-jae was acting a little unusual. At the movie theater, Min-jae watched the film feeling tense. When their hands accidentally touched, Ji-hoon suddenly turned to her and complimented her on how pretty she looked, then leaned in closer to her lips. Just thinking about it made Min-jae excited. She covered her face in embarrassment and laughed with joy. The next day, Min-jae received a message from Ji-hoon, who was very good at pretending. First, Ji-hoon acted shy and asked if Min-jae liked Ji-hoon. Then she lied, claiming that he had confessed to her. Min-jae was stunned. Could the moments she had shared with him in the past have been false? She began to doubt whether it had all been just her imagination. Ji-hoon, showing no shame, apologized to Min-jae. Her eyes welled up with tears, making Min-jae feel pity for her. Quickly, Min-jae said she didn't like Ji-hoon and told Ji-hoon not to feel sad over it. Ji-hoon immediately replied that she wouldn't accept Ji-hoon's confession. She intentionally let Min-jae misunderstand that Ji-hoon was flirtatious, and Min-jae believed her. It was true that Ji-hoon was a boy, many noticed, so even if he went to the movies with someone else, it didn't mean anything special. Although Ji-hoon usually acted cold, today he hummed softly to himself. Hae-jun could sense that he was in a very good mood. But Ji-hoon didn't want to tell Hae-jun that he had plans to watch a movie with Min-jae. Later, Hae-jun suddenly appeared behind Min-jae and asked what she was mumbling. Min-jae had to tell him it was about a friend, but as soon as Hae-jun heard it, he realized that the person she meant was Ji-hoon. He asked her directly if she liked Ji-hoon, and Min-jae instinctively shook her head. Hae-jun said that if she wasn't sure about her feelings for Ji-hoon, being friends wasn't a bad idea. Meanwhile, idol Min-jae was still deep in thought, wondering why she had gone out of her way to help the other Min-jae. Suddenly, a male student bumped into idol Min-jae. Not only did he fail to apologize, but he also yelled at her. But when Min-jae noticed that no one was around, her true nature immediately showed. Unexpectedly, a classmate saw her the next moment and even called Ji-hoon to come watch. However, idol Min-jae quickly disappeared. The next day, Ji-hoon deliberately styled his hair differently and dressed more maturely. He even arrived at the movie theater early. When he sensed someone approaching, he turned around, only to see his smile disappear. Ji-hoon didn't understand why Ji-won was there. It turned out that before the movie started, Min-jae had sent a ticket to Ji-won, thinking that Ji-hoon would prefer to watch the movie with her. Later, she arranged to meet idol Min-jae outside, hoping for some advice about her feelings. When idol Min-jae saw her clumsy appearance, she smiled teasingly. She mentioned Ji-hoon's name, causing Min-jae to panic. Min-jae wondered why idol Min-jae's intuition was as accurate as Hae-jun's. She asked idol Min-jae that if one could only choose between a friend and a lover, who she would choose. Idol Min-jae recalled past memories, and her expression darkened. Idol Min-jae asked in return what insecure Min-jae thought was more important. Then she listened as Min-jae recounted the whole story. After hearing it, idol Min-jae felt very angry. She couldn't understand how someone could be so foolish. She immediately called Hae-jun and scolded him. At the movie theater, Ji-hoon was about to call Min-jae to ask about what was happening, but when he heard a phone ringing nearby, he looked up and realized that Hae-jun and Min-jae were going to watch the movie. Together, the atmosphere became unusually tense. Ji-hoon didn't understand the situation. It turned out that Ji-won had lied, claiming that Ji-hoon had confessed to her. Innocent Min-jae, wanting to help, had let Ji-won go on the date with Ji-hoon in her place. Idol Min-jae, realizing this, couldn't hold back. She asked Min-jae if she now felt both regretful and responsible for having to convince herself she was right. Min-jae nodded. Idol Min-jae said that it was precisely because insecure. Min-jae always thought of others that people liked her. Min-jae was sincere and honest, but she shouldn't always sacrifice herself for her friends. She needed to think about herself more and take care of her own feelings as well. Idol Min-jae told her to go to the movie theater now. If Ji-hoon asked, Min-jae should say that all three of them were going to watch the movie together. Finally, Min-jae reacted and ran toward the theater. Idol Min-jae smiled as she watched her leave, but then immediately lowered her head, looking sad. As Min-jae was about to enter the theater, Hae-jun suddenly appeared. He offered to help her, but she wasn't allowed to feel any attraction toward him. Then Hae-jun and Min-jae went inside together. When Ji-hoon saw how close the two of them were, he felt both surprised and annoyed. Hae-jun even deliberately ordered a couples combo. Since it was still early, they played a shooting game to pass the time. Hae-jun and Ji-hoon started competing to see who was better. Hae-jun taught Min-jae how to shoot, and Ji-hoon quickly stepped closer to watch their every move. Ji-won pouted, saying that it was too difficult. She wanted Ji-hoon to teach her, but he couldn't take his eyes off Min-jae. When Min-jae fired her first shot, everyone was amazed that she scored 9 points. She continued shooting, even hitting a perfect 10. Everyone fell silent. The shop owner came over to praise her. Min-jae happily high-fived Hae-jun. Jealous Ji-hoon also raised his hand to congratulate her. When the movie started, Ji-hoon stared intensely at the two of them. Hae-jun noticed and deliberately tried to pull Min-jae closer to himself. Seeing them leaning toward each other, Ji-hoon quickly leaned forward to see what they were doing. Min-jae asked Hae-jun if this was okay, since Ji-hoon didn't truly like her, but she still thanked Hae-jun. Upon hearing her thanks, Hae-jun's expression changed noticeably. Min-jae said that she hadn't really understood what kind of person Hae-jun was before. Sometimes he seemed very friendly, but other times very cold. Sometimes he felt familiar, yet at other times distant. But now Min-jae had found her answer. Because Hae-jun often helped her, she was happy to have a friend like him. Hae-jun, however, didn't feel comfortable, since he had always approached Min-jae with a purpose. After the movie ended, Ji-won deliberately told Hae-jun to take Min-jae home. He immediately understood her intention and said that he and Ji-won were at an impasse. When they arrived at the bus stop, Ji-won stopped pretending. She asked Hae-jun why he was acting that way. His answer immediately embarrassed her, because Ji-won had been too scheming, even lying that Ji-hoon had confessed to her. Hae-jun continued to play dumb, but she was still exposed. Clearly, Ji-won didn't like Ji-hoon, so why was she trying to come between Min-jae and him? him. The real reason, of course, was that Ji-won didn't like Min-jae. Hae-jun asked if that was the case, but Ji-won denied it and questioned why he was interfering in other people's matters. Hae-jun explained that because the two were so similar, he could predict what Ji-won was planning. He warned her not to go too far, or he wouldn't let it slide. Meanwhile, Min-jae and Ji-hoon felt a little awkward. Ji-hoon raised his phone to take a picture of the moon, then said something with a hint of meaning, "The moon is beautiful tonight." But clueless Min-jae didn't understand. The two walked home together, unsure what to say, so they purposely walked slowly, wanting to stay side by side as long as possible. Min-jae asked how he felt about the movie, but Ji-hoon couldn't focus at all. He admitted he couldn't concentrate on the film, but Min-jae still misunderstood, thinking he was angry. Ji-hoon, on the other hand, assumed that Min-jae hadn't wanted to watch the movie with him, which was why she went with Hae-jun instead. Min-jae didn't know how to respond. Ji-hoon quickly apologized for asking something that might have made her uncomfortable. Min-jae also hurried to apologize, saying she was sorry for bothering both Ji-hoon and Ji-won. Gathering all her courage, she asked why Ji-hoon had invited her to the movies in the first place. The truth was, Ji-hoon only felt at ease when he was with her, but he couldn't bring himself to say it out loud. He could only confess silently in his heart. When they finally said goodbye, Ji-hoon hesitated for a long moment before managing to tell her that he was really happy to have watched the movie with her. It took Min-jae quite a while to respond. Even after getting home, she still felt dazed. It wasn't until Ji-hoon posted a photo of the moon with a caption that she realized those words had been meant for her. Under his post, she left a comment, "I don't know what my presence means to you, but maybe all I can do is like you." Meanwhile, Ji-hoon back at home was filled with regret. Why couldn't he express his feelings properly? In moments like this, he truly despised himself, because in the end, he still couldn't bring himself to tell her how he felt. When Ji-hoon read Min-jae's comment, surprise clearly showed on his face. He didn't know how to respond. Meanwhile, idol Min-jae looked at old photos they had taken together. She couldn't bring herself to delete them. No matter how many times she looked, she still couldn't let go of those memories. She was still living in the past. The next day in class, Min-jae recalled Ji-hoon's words from the night before, that he really enjoyed watching movies with her. Those words alone made her feel happy for a long time. However, when the teacher announced the test scores, her mood instantly plummeted. The teacher applauded Min-jae, saying the class's average scores were fine. As the whole class clapped, Min-jae still hadn't reacted, because with their identities swapped, everyone thought she was the top student. At that moment, Min-jae realized that the teacher wasn't actually praising her. She looked at idol Min-jae with a pleading expression. Idol Min-jae checked the other Min-jae's homework and saw that it was completely wrong. Her expression gradually darkened. Hae-jun suggested that they switch back identities, but Min-jae quickly refused. Idol Min-jae then said that if insecure Min-jae didn't want the whole class to find out, she needed to study more seriously. Unexpectedly, Min-jae protested, saying that top students like them couldn't understand how hard studying could be. She quickly reassured idol Min-jae that it was just a matter of having different strengths. Hae-jun looked curious. Idol Min-jae glanced shyly and changed the subject, asking what insecure Min-jae was good at sports and physical activities. Insecure Min-jae immediately admitted it. She was very confident in her shooting skills and demonstrated a few rounds for them. Both of them were amazed by her talent. However, idol Min-jae pointed out that studying was similar. Learning had to go hand in hand with practice. That evening, Min-jae went to idol Min-jae's house to study. She had already reached her limit. During a break, insecure Min-jae took the chance to flirt a little. When she stood up to stretch, she suddenly saw a middle school photo of idol Min-jae. She complimented her, saying she was very beautiful, but idol Min-jae immediately snatched the photo away. Surprisingly, she got angry over just a photo. Seeing insecure Min-jae apologize and even get a nosebleed, idol Min-jae immediately softened. She quickly helped her take care of it. Unexpectedly, Min-jae started laughing cheerfully despite the nosebleed. Idol Min-jae wondered why she was suddenly laughing like that. Insecure, Min-jae didn't realize that studying too much could actually cause a nosebleed. She had thought it was just a saying. She picked up her phone and asked idol Min-jae to take a picture with her. Idol Min-jae couldn't resist her playful tone and finally agreed. After Min-jae returned home, idol Min-jae still couldn't help but think how adorable she was. Min-jae made a post that got more likes than she had ever received before. Ji-won read the comments and felt intensely jealous. When others invited Ji-won to eat, she pretended not to want to join. Min-jae asked if she wanted her to buy anything, but Ji-won wondered if Min-jae was just pretending to be kind. Looking at Min-jae's seat, Ji-won remembered that she had never really disliked her at first. When Min-jae first transferred here, her appearance and demeanor weren't particularly remarkable, yet someone so ordinary was welcomed more than Ji-hwan herself. That was something she simply couldn't accept. Ji-hwan decided to go find Hyeon. She asked if Hyeon liked Haejun, and even claimed that Min-jae had shared the secret with her. Hyeon immediately thought that Min-jae had broken her promise. Ji-hwan continued, saying that she had also revealed a secret to Min-jae that Ji-hoon had confessed to her. However, during the date between Ji-hwan and Ji-hoon, Min-jae and Haejun showed up, ruining the date. Not only that, but Min-jae and Haejun seemed very close. Using her skills as a director, Ji-hwan successfully swayed Hyeon to her side. The next day, the male students surrounded Min-jae, asking about her rainbow flip technique. She intended to demonstrate but realized she was wearing a skirt and stopped. Seeing her friends, Min-jae ran over to invite them to buy snacks, but they said they had just come back from there. They even teased her, saying she liked playing with boys more, which left Min-jae feeling a little confused. At lunchtime, Min-jae invited everyone to eat together, but they deliberately avoided her. She didn't understand why she was suddenly being isolated. Suddenly, Hee-jun sat beside her and reminded her that it was time to fight back. Soon after, Ji-hoon sat down across from Min-jae. Seeing this, the others began gossiping. They admired Min-jae for having two popular boys sit with her, while also mocking her for being so good at flirting. At that moment, Min-jae finally understood what idol Min-jae had meant before. Friends can betray you in an instant. She had no mood to eat. Meanwhile, Hee-jun scolded Ji-hoon for showing up unexpectedly, hoping he wouldn't interfere next time since he had left everything to Hee-jun to handle. Min-jae complained quietly while eating her bread, and idol Min-jae couldn't bear to watch. While Min-jae was still thinking about the mistakes she had made, idol Min-jae angrily interrupted her, saying that when someone is disliked, people will find any reason to hate them. Whether they laugh or cry, it is always blamed on them. So Min-jae didn't need to blame herself, because it wasn't her fault. When people spoke badly about behind her back, idol Min-jae couldn't stand it and stepped in. The other person seemed ready to get angry, but fell silent when they saw her apologize. After they left, idol Min-jae returned to her true self, but unexpectedly, someone else was still outside the door. At school, Min-jae deliberately kept her distance from Ji-hoon, hoping she wouldn't be scolded any worse. Unexpectedly, Ji-hoon slipped his student ID into Min-jae's book and handed it to her. When she opened the book, she discovered a note of apology from him. She couldn't help but laugh out loud, but the sound was noticed by the teacher, who scolded her. The two of them dozed off together in class, perfectly in sync. When Ji-hoon woke up, he stared at Min-jae's beautiful face, watching her intently. After a while, he tried to stop looking, but couldn't control himself. When he noticed Min-jae frowned slightly, he smiled sweetly and held up his hand to shield her from the sunlight. Meanwhile, idol Min-jae woke up from a nightmare. Looking at the photos on the desk, she didn't know how to face the past. Ji-hwan had isolated Min-jae many times, which Haejun could no longer tolerate. He decided it was time to fight back. Haejun waited for Ji-hwan after school. He asked, frustrated, why she hadn't replied to his messages. Ji-hwan looked shocked at the question. Haejun stepped closer and said, "Can Haeun stay away for a while?" Hearing this, she awkwardly walked off. Ji-hwan panicked. Just yesterday, she had claimed that Min-jae was deliberately approaching Haejun, yet today Haeun witnessed Ji-hwan and Haejun acting so close. Ji-hwan demanded to know why Haejun behaved that way. He clearly knew that Haeun liked him, but he was deliberately driving a wedge between them. Haejun's answer made Ji-hwan furious. He said he was just following her lead. Ji-hwan also understood Haeun's feelings for Haejun very well, which is why he exploited the situation to carry out his schemes. For Haejun, Ji-hwan's antics are just childish games. Ji-hwan reminds Haejun that they should be on the same side. After all, Ji-hoon likes Min-jae, so Ji-hwan acts to help Haejun achieve his goal. Haejun agrees, and even shares a secret with him, saying that there was once a girl who was very pathetic, but now she shows nothing at all. The next morning, the rumor spreads across the school. During gym class, Haejun does his best to protect Min-jae because he fears she might get hurt. Everyone is gossiping about their relationship, and Haeun grows even more resentful toward Min-jae, which makes Min-jae very sad. She doesn't understand what she did wrong. Min-jae recalls the words of idol Min-jae, who told her she did nothing wrong, so she doesn't want to be weak like that anymore. When the ball comes flying toward her, she pushes Haejun forward, letting him block it for her. Everyone blames Min-jae for letting Haejun get hurt, and she realizes she can't keep holding back. She passes the ball to Ji-hwan, but he passes it to Haeun. Ji-hwan wants to let Haeun vent her anger. Haeun throws the ball at Min-jae in frustration, but Min-jae performs a flip to dodge it. Everyone is amazed by her move, and even the gym teacher praises her. In the end, Min-jae strikes back, and idol Min-jae feels happy for her. When she returned to class, everyone was buzzing about the social media post from earlier that that day. Ji-won felt that something was wrong. At a glance, she realized it was an old photo of herself. The secret she had struggled to hide for so long had been exposed. Ji-won felt embarrassed and tried to run, but she unexpectedly bumped into Hae-jun, who turned out to be the culprit. It turned out that the secret Hae-jun mentioned that night was this incident. It wasn't about Min-jae's identity swap, but Ji-won's own past. She had also been a victim of school bullying, and everyone had hated her. When Ji-won returned home upset, she accidentally saw Hae-jun being bullied. Only now did she realize that, despite always being liked by others, Hae-jun wasn't so different from her. While waiting for the bus, Ji-won gave her only piece of bread to Hae-jun, but Hae-jun thought she was more pitiful and needed it more than him. When Ji-won heard Hae-jun say that only by becoming outstanding and perfect would anyone want to be his friend, she began to change herself. By the time Ji-won appeared at the new school, she had completely transformed and stood in front of Hae-jun. She felt happy that he still remembered her and had successfully integrated with everyone. But everything fell apart when Min-jae appeared. Ji-won didn't understand why everyone liked Min-jae. She had clearly befriended them first, yet now she felt as if she had returned to the time when everyone hated her. Ji-won couldn't accept it. Ji-hoon coldly pressed Hae-jun against the wall. Hae-jun looked at the person in front of him, trying to smile, but when he looked at Ji-hoon, his expression was filled with resentment. It turned out that 2 years ago, Ji-hoon and Hae-jun had been best friends. They were always by each other's side, supporting and cheering one another on. During break, Ji-hoon announced that he had an appointment and wouldn't be coming back. Hae-jun immediately looked unhappy. Ji-hoon quickly reassured him, saying that since Hae-jun didn't like strangers, he hadn't brought him along. Hae-jun pretended it was nothing, but when he saw Ji-hoon putting his arm around someone else, he felt very sad. Anger, jealousy, and insecurity flooded him. Hae-jun remembered that earlier he had planned to go singing at KTV with a friend, but everyone only seemed concerned about whether Ji-hoon would be there. It seemed that from childhood until now, Hae-jun had only ever been like Ji-hoon's shadow. People approached him just to get closer to Ji-hoon. That evening, Ji-hoon still hadn't returned home. Hae-jun noticed that the computer screen was still on and became curious about what was on it. When he opened a video, he discovered that Ji-hoon and someone else had applied for an internship interview. Hae-jun had never seen him like that before. He copied the video and then posted it in the classroom, and everyone crowded around, laughing at Ji-hoon. Ji-hoon angrily closed the laptop. At that moment, the owner of the clip noticed him, and, feeling both angry and embarrassed, he ran away. After their classmates learned that Hae-jun and Ji-hoon had argued, their attitude toward Hae-jun suddenly changed. Hae-jun had thought others considered him a friend, but it turned out they were only being friendly because of Ji-hoon. The next morning, the teacher called Hae-jun over and asked why he had teased a classmate. Usually, Hae-jun was both kind and smart, but he didn't fully understand his own nature. But he secretly exposed the girl wearing fake shoes on social media. On the surface, Hae-jun acted friendly with Ji-won, but behind her back, he revealed her bare face. He did this because everyone admired Hae-jun's kindness and intelligence, so he wrapped himself in that facade. From a young age, Hae-jun had been different from Ji-hoon. Even though Ji-hoon was quiet, he still drew attention. To keep up, Hae-jun worked hard to be kind, tried to fit in with classmates, probed their secrets, and even used social media posts to spread rumors. Hae-jun succeeded in reconnecting with Ji-hoon. He felt both happy and anxious, fearing that someone might take Ji-hoon away. When Hae-jun discovered that Ji-hoon liked Min-jae and went to great lengths to protect her, he saw Min-jae as an enemy. He didn't want to lose Ji-hoon again, like he had 2 years ago. Hae-jun deliberately approached Min-jae and, at first, only found her identity swap interesting, but over time, through repeated interactions, he realized that Min-jae was truly kind. She was also very attractive, while Ji-hwan kept taking advantage of her. Now, Hae-jun genuinely wants to help Min-jae, so he deliberately brings Ji-hwan along. He wants to create a chance for Min-jae and Ji-hoon to develop their relationship. Hae-jun laughs at how naive Min-jae is. She clearly likes Ji-hoon, yet chooses to be just a friend and let him go to someone else. Idol Min-jae agrees with Hae-jun. It's the first time Hae-jun has met someone who shares his perspective, and both of them think Min-jae is truly too innocent. She always treats others sincerely. Jun decides to strike back, so he publicly posts Ji-hwan's bare-faced photo. Idol Min-jae asks why he would do such a thing. Hae-jun replies that Ji-hwan has become increasingly unreasonable lately. Unexpectedly, Min-jae has been standing outside the door, hearing everything. She asks why Hae-jun is treating Ji-hwan that way, when they are clearly supposed to be friends. Hae-jun explains that Ji-hwan approaches people only for her own benefit. However, Min-jae says that Hae-jun is really frightening. Hae-jun feels he must clarify further, saying that it's because Min-jae is too naive that Ji-hwan has been deceiving her all this time. Min-jae has been taken advantage of with without realizing it. At that moment, Min-jae's eyes turn red, and she asks if Hee-jun will ever treat her the same way. When Min-jae first transferred to this school, she was always worried that her secret would be discovered, but because Hee-jun promised to help her, she considered him a good friend. Now, after hearing what Hee-jun just said, Min-jae fears that one day he might treat her like he did Ji-hwan, that sooner or later he will take advantage of her too. Hee-jun doesn't know how to respond. After speaking, Min-jae leaves, and idle Min-jae quickly runs after her. But in Hee-jun's heart, this time he truly wants to help Min-jae. Ji-hoon asks why Hee-jun posted Ji-hwan's barefaced photo. Hee-jun explains that he did it to help Ji-hoon, but Ji-hoon doesn't believe him. That evening, Ji-hoon doesn't reply to messages, which makes Min-jae feel sad. She walks alone, feeling dejected. Unexpectedly, when Min-jae looks up, she sees Ji-hoon. He has been waiting for her for a long time. Ji-hoon explains that he wasn't in a good mood today and then opens up about the feelings he had kept inside. He says that because of his bad mood, he hadn't replied to her messages. Then he admits that he misses Min-jae very much. Min-jae is so surprised that she is left speechless. Ji-hoon feels embarrassed and wants to leave, but unexpectedly, Min-jae tugs at his sleeve. She asks if he wants to go to a cafe. Ji-hoon feels very happy inside, but doesn't know how to respond. The two of them stand there shyly, unsure what to say. Perhaps that is what love feels like. Min-jae thinks that it's already late, and the cafe is probably closed, so she suggests going to a KTV instead. When the atmosphere feels a bit awkward, Min-jae takes the initiative to ask Ji-hoon if she had once said she hated singing, though she had already forgotten about it. Ji-hoon replies that he actually likes singing. It turns out that on the day everyone went to KTV, when Ji-hoon saw his friends on stage, he really wanted to join them, but he hesitated. He thought he couldn't sing anymore because 2 years ago, Hye-jun had hurt him. Ji-hoon had been quiet since childhood, and when he saw Hye-jun laughing and having fun with friends, he admired him greatly. Hye-jun helped Ji-hoon become closer to others. Gradually, Ji-hoon made more friends and even found someone with shared interests. The two of them even recorded videos for each other and prepared to participate in an internship selection contest. After Ji-hoon and Hye finished playing ball, Ji-hoon asked Hye-jun what time he would be going home because he wanted to talk to him about participating in the selection contest. For Ji-hoon, Hye-jun's opinion was the most important, but that night they didn't meet. The next morning, Ji-hoon and his friend laughed as they walked into the classroom, only to find Hye-jun playing the selection clip. Ji-hoon didn't understand why Hye-jun would do that. His friend was laughed at and ran out of the classroom in embarrassment. At that moment, a frightening thought crossed Ji-hoon's mind. Even though he wasn't the owner of the clip, he always felt fear and disappointment in himself. He often wished he could disappear from the world. So when Min-jae asked, he couldn't help recalling that moment. After Ji-hoon finished speaking, he asked if Min-jae was very disappointed in him because she always seemed indifferent and he felt he had to speak up. Min-jae replies that a friend once told her that a true friend will always wait for the other person to speak first. Just then, someone entered the wrong room, and Ji-hoon and Min-jae grabbed the microphones at the same time, accidentally touching hands. Min-jae held the remaining microphone. Even though she didn't know how to sing, she felt very comfortable. Ji-hoon laughed when he saw how cute she looked, and she even pulled him up to join her in the performance. After singing, the two of them were out of breath. Ji-hoon raised his hand, signaling that he wanted to sing. As soon as he started, Min-jae felt overwhelmed. She even began to doubt herself, thinking that if she had transferred schools in her old self and hadn't swapped identities with idol Min-jae, would people have gotten close to her like they do now? Ji-hoon used the lyrics of the song to confess, but Min-jae didn't understand his meaning. She thought about using the moment to reveal her secret, but worried that if she did, Ji-hoon would hate her, so she hesitated. Despite this, Min-jae felt that they had grown closer. Unexpectedly, Ji-hoon seriously confesses that he likes Min-jae. Min-jae is completely stunned upon hearing his confession. Worried that she might not understand, Ji-hoon emphasizes that he is confessing to her sincerely. Min-jae is frozen, only able to hear her own heart pounding. Ji-hoon says that he feels comfortable only when he is by her side. He looks at Min-jae, waiting for her response, but she doesn't know what to say. Her current identity is false, and she hasn't admitted the truth, so she feels unworthy to face Ji-hoon. Just then, a phone rings. Seeing that she remains silent, Ji-hoon says he will head back first. Min-jae calls him back and says that her feelings are the same as his, but because she wants to be honest with him, she cannot be in a relationship right now. She hopes Ji-hoon will give her time to think. Ji-hoon feels both happy and embarrassed. Min-jae likes him too. When Min-jae gets home, she excitedly calls idol Min-jae and happily tells her that Ji-hoon just confessed his feelings to her. Idol Min-jae feels genuinely happy for her. Min-jae thanks her, saying that without idol Min-jae, she would still be invisible in class, just like before. Idol Min-jae comforts her, saying that even if people had mistaken her identity at first, first, after spending time together, they would come to like Min-jae anyway. As idol Min-jae recalls the times they spent together, she smiles with happiness. That evening, she remembers her past. Both her friendships and her first love had been false. The feeling of betrayal was painful, but looking at the photos on her phone, she can't bring herself to delete those memories. Meanwhile, a male student brings some snacks and asks Min-jae to give them to Ji-hwan. Ji-hoon, having just confessed, doesn't dare to look up at Min-jae. The student compliments Min-jae on her beauty and asks for a photo of her from middle school, which startles her. Just then, Ji-hoon brings the snacks to Min-jae, and both of them feel a little awkward. Haejun watches them from a distance before turning away. Unsure how to face Ji-hoon, the male student asks Haejun how he plans to make up with Ji-hoon and why they had argued before. Haejun doesn't know how to explain. The student then says that he feels idol Min-jae isn't as quiet as she appears. She actually has secrets hidden beneath the surface. Haejun pretends not to know anything and asks why he thinks that. The student explains that on several occasions when he observed idol Min-jae, he found her behavior very strange. He felt that she was pretending to be naive, and that idol Min-jae could even teach others a lesson. Haejun almost chokes hearing this and pretends to sip water to avoid raising suspicion. It seems someone has already noticed the secret between them. After Ji-hwan's bare-faced photo was posted, her classmates began to avoid her, and she had to spend time with students from another class. One female student even suggests introducing a boyfriend to Ji-hwan, noting that Ji-hwan usually only interacts with beautiful and popular girls. If Ji-hwan succeeds, no one will dare to underestimate her again. That day, Ji-hwan suddenly went to see Min-jae. Min-jae didn't intentionally avoid her, because on the first day she transferred schools. Ji-hwan was the first to speak to her. Min-jae had said that she would continue treating Ji-hwan as before. They would remain friends. On the surface, Ji-hwan praised Min-jae for being kind, but in her mind, she was already planning how to trap her. Ji-hwan pretended to see Min-jae as a close friend and mentioned that a male student from Min-jae's previous school had confessed to her. She wanted to ask Min-jae what she thought of him, whether she knew him, and to hear her opinion. Min-jae hesitated slightly, as she hadn't yet received permission from idol Min-jae, so she couldn't bring up her past. Ji-hwan showed her a photo, and Min-jae complimented the guy, saying he was as handsome as an actor. She also admitted that he was indeed good-looking. Ji-hwan was very surprised by her reaction, because this person was idol Min-jae's ex-boyfriend. Ji-hwan thought Min-jae was pretending not to know him, but she didn't realize that Min-jae was actually swapping identities. At that moment, Min-jae finally reacts. She senses that idol Min-jae might know this person and asks if she is familiar with Kang-ho. Idol Min-jae is stunned and asks why his name comes up. When Min-jae explains that she was asking on Ji-hwan's behalf, idol Min-jae becomes very angry. She can't believe Min-jae is still so timid. Even after being treated poorly by Ji-hwan, Min-jae still wants to help her. In her anger, idol Min-jae says that Min-jae is no different from Ji-hwan's maid. She warns Min-jae not to reveal anything and then leaves. The harsh words leave Min-jae speechless. She feels that idol Min-jae has become frighteningly distant. As idol Min-jae walks out the door, tears well up in her eyes. She feels guilty for speaking to Min-jae so harshly. But when idol Min-jae hears the name Kang-ho, memories from the past flood back, and she cannot control her emotions. Min-jae walks on, dazed, and accidentally runs into Haejun. Seeing her state, he cannot bear to let idol Min-jae be. Haejun's concern makes her feel very warm. She admits that she was wrong, and that she unfairly took out her anger on Min-jae. Min-jae idol should have valued such a close friend. Haejun often vents and blames Ji-hoon in the same way, so she feels somewhat embarrassed. Just as idol Min-jae is about to find Min-jae to apologize, Haejun calls out to her, asking if she really intends to keep the secret forever, which startles her. When she gets home, idol Min-jae recalls her old school. As an intern and Kang-ho's girlfriend, everything had seemed perfect. Everything had gone so well, yet she hadn't noticed her friend's jealousy. That day, idol Min-jae has a premonition that Kang-ho will invite her to his house again. Indeed, as they are about to part, Kang-ho mentions that his parents are away this week and asks if she could come over and stay. She hesitates, thinking it's not yet the right time to sleep over at each other's homes, but Kang-ho speaks sweetly and looks pitiful, making it impossible for her to refuse. Suddenly, Min-jae sends a text with an apologetic emoji, which brings idol Min-jae back to reality. She immediately calls, saying that she should apologize to Min-jae as well. Idol Min-jae also wants to say sorry, but Min-jae has already spoken first. The next morning, as idol Min-jae arrives at school, she overhears everyone talking about Min-jae, saying she transferred because she was isolated. These words make idol Min-jae very sad. She realizes that she is the true main character of the Thang story. Min-jae was only bearing the blame on her behalf. Just as Min-jae enters the classroom, Ji-hwan appears. She She says that she went on a date with Kang-ho yesterday and then confronts Min-jae, asking why she didn't admit she had once been Kang-ho's girlfriend. Min-jae's eyes widen in shock at the question. Idol Min-jae, overwhelmed by the most painful experience of her life, hides in the bathroom and cries uncontrollably. The next morning, Idol Min-jae and her mother go to school to report what Kang-ho has done. When the two arrive, Kang-ho asks if she really intends to accuse him because it will affect them both. The teachers and parents begin discussing the details of the incident, and Idol Min-jae feels helpless and terrified. Kang-ho's mother keeps mocking her, calling her a liar. The teacher says they need a witness. Just then, Idol Min-jae's best friend walks in. Seeing her, Idol Min-jae is stunned, but to her shock, the friend claims that Idol Min-jae once asked her have sex. Kang-ho smirks, and at that moment, Idol Min-jae's world completely collapses. Later, the friend apologizes to Idol Min-jae, saying she couldn't control herself. She had liked Kang-ho for a long time. That's why she sided with him. In the end, between love and friendship, her best friend chose unrequited love. It turns out their past friendship was nothing but a lie. The next morning, everyone mocked Idol Min-jae, wondering how she still had the courage to come to school. They even claimed she had accused Kang-ho just to gain fame. Idol Min-jae was furious, but there was nothing she could do. In the end, she had no choice but to transfer to another school. Even after she left, people still brought up the incident to hurt her. After Ji-won started dating Kang-ho, she asked why Min didn't admit that. Kang-ho was her ex-boyfriend. When Min-jae learned the truth, she was shocked. That was when she finally understood why Idol Min-jae had been so angry and why she wanted to become invisible. Looking at the empty desk, Min-jae felt even more uneasy. On the way home from school, Haejin brought up Min-jae. Ji-hoon's response made him think that Min-jae's secret identity swap had been exposed, but Ji-hoon only said he knew Min-jae once had a boyfriend because she was so beautiful. Haejin asked if Ji-hoon didn't care about the rumors, but Ji-hoon replied that he didn't. He already liked Min-jae too much to care. Then Ji-hoon asked why Haejin had suddenly become so kind. When Haejin kept saying he felt sad, Ji-hoon finally revealed why he hated hearing that phrase. 2 years ago, when Haejun was punished for posting a video of a classmate, it was Ji-hoon who went to the teacher and said he was the one who gave the clip to Haejun. Thanks to that, Haejun avoided trouble. Ji-hoon quietly took the blame without telling him. Haejun immediately felt a bit embarrassed, and in the end, the two were finally able to clear up their misunderstanding. Haejun encouraged Ji-hoon to confess his feelings to Min-jae, saying the two of them were equally foolish. After class, everyone was still mocking Min-jae. Even her former best friends had turned away from her. Min-jae quietly endured it all. Then, Ji-hoon suddenly appeared at the door, leaving everyone in shock. When Min-jae noticed something unusual, she immediately turned around. After that, she and Ji-hoon stepped outside to talk. The two sat side by side in silence. Finally, Min-jae spoke. First, Ji-hoon said he had been waiting for her to admit the truth herself, and at that moment, Min-jae realized how much he valued her words. She shyly adjusted her skirt, but accidentally brushed against Ji-hoon's hand, making the atmosphere even more awkward. Ji-hoon carefully reached out to her and said he would wait until she was ready to tell the truth, no matter when that might be. Min-jae was deeply moved by his words. She promised that she would reveal everything someday. Ji-hoon then added that he had spoken to her just now as a friend, but next time, it wouldn't be as one. Min-jae blushed after hearing his words. From that moment on, they were no longer just friends. Idol Min-jae had once been the most invisible girl at school, but she no longer hid behind that image. The moment she appeared, everyone was left speechless. After she and Min-jae switched identities, her past was exposed. Min-jae, who used to be surrounded and admired by friends, now had to silently endure mockery and contempt. Those who once isolated Ji-hwan had now turned against Min-jae. Meanwhile, Idol Min-jae couldn't stand hearing all the gossip, so she decided to stop going to school. She didn't even dare to face Min-jae. To Min-jae, Idol Min-jae had always seemed like a strong person, but when things turned bad, she chose to run away. She couldn't bring herself to tell Min-jae the truth, that she was just an ordinary girl like anyone else. Idol Min-jae never liked being alone. She, too, wished to have friends by her side. Min-jae returned to her old life, once again isolated and looked down on by others. But this time, she was no longer afraid, because she now had real friends by her side. She wrote a letter to her friend, who shared the same name. Suddenly, Ji-hoon came closer, curious about what she was writing. Min-jae waited downstairs for Idol Min-jae, hoping she would come out and talk to her. But Idol Min-jae had been hiding in her room for days. When she finally stepped outside, she found a note from her mother. It turned out her mother knew she had been feeling down and had always been there to support and protect her. The snacks beside her were from Min-jae, each with a small note written by her. Min-jae was still waiting downstairs. Just as she was about to leave, she suddenly heard Idol Min-jae's voice. Idol Min-jae began to open up, confessing that Kang-ho had forced himself on her. Min-jae Ji-hoon burst into tears as she listened. She blamed herself for not knowing what had happened, and even for asking to switch identities with idol Min-jae. Idol Min-jae also apologized, saying that because of her, Min-jae had been isolated once again. In the end, the two finally opened their hearts to each other. Min-jae was deeply grateful to her, knowing that without idol Min-jae, she wouldn't be who she was today. She advised idol Min-jae to stop pretending to be invisible and to return to her beautiful, confident self, to go back to school as who she truly was. Meanwhile, Ji-hwan received a message from Kang-ho, asking her out over the weekend. She hesitated for a moment. Then Hae-jun came to see her, apologizing for posting her old photos online. Ji-hwan gave a bitter smile. No matter what Hae-jun had done, she had once truly considered him a friend. Hae-jun said he knew that, and his response caught Ji-hwan by surprise. He told her to stop doing such awful things. Wasn't she tired of pretending every single day? After school, Ji-hwan went on a date with Kang-ho. She mentioned that she seemed to know his ex-girlfriend. Kang-ho immediately claimed that idol Min-jae had falsely accused him of assault, which cost him his career as an athlete. Ji-hwan was about to show him a photo to confirm if the girl was really idol Min-jae, but when Kang-ho said he wanted to see her again, Ji-hwan hesitated. Meanwhile, Min-jae noticed Ji-hwan calling her. Angry, she refused to answer. She didn't want to deal with people like that anymore. Still, Ji-hwan kept calling, sounding desperate for help. Panicked, Ji-hwan stood waiting when Kang-ho suddenly arrived. She sensed that something bad was about to happen. Ji-hwan told him she wanted to break up, which made Kang-ho furious. At that moment, both Min-jaes appeared, just in time. Idol Min-jae shouted at Kang-ho, demanding that he stop. Ji-hwan was shocked to see the two Min-jaes standing together. Idol Min-jae mocked Kang-ho for never changing, taking the chance. Min-jae pulled Ji-hwan to her feet. Kang-ho sneered, accusing idol Min-jae of ruining his life over something trivial. He said she clearly liked him, but still accused him of assault. Min-jae held her friend's hand, giving her the courage to speak up. She told Kang-ho that she hadn't pressed charges because she wanted to forgive him, not because she liked him. Other than baseball, he had no future. Kang-ho argued that every couple gets intimate, and that idol Min-jae, as his girlfriend, should have agreed. He never expected that she had recorded everything. Shocked and furious, he was left speechless. Before leaving, idol Min-jae warned him never to try something vile like that with another girl again. The next morning, idol Min-jae confidently walked into school. She had regained her beauty and self-assurance, just as Min-jae had encouraged her to do. She had decided to be herself again. When they met, Min-jae immediately complimented how beautiful she looked. Idol Min-jae blushed and replied that Min-jae was beautiful too. Min-jae didn't know how to explain the identity swap to everyone, but idol Min-jae told her not to worry. The teachers hadn't noticed anything. Min-jae smiled and asked her to give her 10 minutes. She ran toward Ji-hoon, her heart filled with both excitement and anxiety. Min-jae thanked him for waiting for her. Finally, she confessed the truth. She was the famous K-pop trainee everyone thought she was. Before telling anyone else, she wanted Ji-hoon to be the first to know. When he asked why she had switched identities, she said it was because she was just like him. Min-jae could only be her true self when she was with Ji-hoon. The time she spent with him was the happiest in her life. Blushing, she confessed her feelings, but to her surprise, Ji-hoon said their relationship should end there. His words left Min-jae heartbroken. She thanked him for taking care of her all this time. But then, Ji-hoon suddenly grabbed her school bag. When she asked what he was doing, it turned out he meant that he only wanted to end their friendship, not their relationship. Min-jae asked if he really didn't care about it, but Ji-hoon confessed his feelings once again. And just like that, they officially became a couple. The next day, the two girls named Min-jae walked into class hand in hand. Everyone whispered and mocked them, saying Min-jae had no real friends and had to stick with the person next to her. But before idol Min-jae could respond, Min-jae spoke up, saying that if they didn't have the courage to say things out loud, they should stay silent. The Min-jae standing there now was no longer the timid girl she used to be. A moment later, the teacher began roll call. As expected, he didn't notice anything unusual. He even encouraged Min-jae to keep up her performance, reminding her to maintain her top ranking. After class, the three of them sat together to check their answers. The other two got everything right, while Min-jae got every single one wrong. Hae-jun joked that it was a good thing the two girls had confessed the truth before the exam. Otherwise, their scores would have exposed them right away. A while later, the two went up to the rooftop and deleted the accounts they had used to swap identities. But there was still one more thing to erase. Finally, Min-jae, the idol, deleted the photos of her ex-boyfriend. Now, she wouldn't feel sad because of him anymore, and she wouldn't have nightmares either. That afternoon, Min-jae leaned against Ji-hoon's shoulder and told him about her playlist collection. She said the account owner was very similar to her. No matter if that person was happy or sad, they always recommended love songs. Ji-hoon smiled, tilted his head and said, That was my account. Min-jae was shocked. It turned out the person she had been talking to all along was Ji-hoon. At that moment, Min-jae thought she really was a fool. Ji-hoon even repeated the exact comments she had written, which made her feel deeply embarrassed. Suddenly, the two fell silent and looked at each other. Then, they shared a sweet kiss. The next morning, everyone greeted each other as usual. Min-jae ran over, and the idol Min-jae naturally linked arms with her. She called out Ji-hoon's name loudly. He turned around and smiled, a smile so warm that Hae-jun still couldn't get used to it. Thinking back to her first day at the new school, Min-jae had only wished to find one good friend. Now, she had more than she hoped for, and she felt truly happy. Ji-hoon waved, calling her to come closer. On her left was Ji-hoon, and on her right was her namesake friend. Min-jae thought to herself that she was the happiest person in the world. The film comes to an end here. See you again in the next videos.